Conceive, believe, achieve.
This is former UFC middleweight champion of the world, Michael Bisping.
Paddy the Baddy here. You're listening to Combat Sports UK.
And you're watching Combat Sports UK.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the channel, Combat Sports UK MMA podcast. Myself, Taylor Collard, joined today by John Gamebred Boguslavski. John, how are you, mate? How are things in Canada? Has the country recovered from UFC 297 and all the Canadian dudes losing?
I personally haven't, so I'm not quite sure how the rest of the country is doing it. Our best chance is Mike Malott, and he blew his gas tank in the end.
Your best prospect now is Gillian Robertson.
And Jasmine,
Jasmine.
Yeah. So
Jasmine Jasovicius.
So
yeah.
I don't know. At least the women's MMA in Canada is looking good.
It's looking okay. I mean, I think Mike Malott will bounce back. Sometimes some of these losses are the best you can get. But you discussed all that with Nathan anyway. It's obviously been a while since I've checked in with you, but glad to hear it. Glad to hear you've got your house back as well after selling your house to get those tickets. I can imagine it wasn't pretty.
Had to take 3 loans out.
Just the 3. Interest rates are high, brother. Interest rates are high. So we're going to break down and discuss a little bit of UFC action that's coming up this weekend. Roman Dolidze against Nassourdine Imavov, an interesting fight for the middleweight division, especially considering what's happening at the top. I personally really like Roman Dolidze.
Yeah.
I think a couple of things have clicked with him recently. I was there in London when he should have beat Marvin Vettori. I 100% think he was robbed. I have watched that fight back. I watched it back pretty soon after. And yeah, I mean, that would have put him on a 4-fight win streak, cracking the top 5. Who knows? In a different universe, he's the middleweight champ instead of DDP, but who knows? How do you break down this fight, mate? Is it one you're looking forward to? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, an interesting matchup in the middleweight division. Like you said, they're not in the top 5, but outside the top 5. So it's pretty good to see how that will change up and gets any movement within closer to the top 5 and maybe potential a future challenger for the belt. I'm in a complete agreement with you. I think he got robbed versus Marvin Vettori. I don't know how the judges saw that as a unanimous decision. At least if it was a split, I would have understood it. But Dolidze got robbed versus Vettori, and in my mind, he has a 5-fight win streak right now. In terms of Imavov, so early on in his career, he had a bunch of first-round finishes until he got to the UFC. He's been struggling to get a consistent win streak going, and as we know, he last fought in 2023 in that first card in the Apex, and versus Sean Strickland.
Mm-hmm.
The loss doesn't look too bad now because he was a former champ. Beat Izzy, and obviously previously lost his belt versus versus Drakus. So it's interesting to see how he's gonna bounce back. I would personally give the edge here for Dolidze.
Yeah, I would give the edge here to Dolidze as well. Don't forget, Imavov actually fought Chris Curtis in the summer. No contest, the clash of heads. He went 2 rounds. So.
Oh, right.
Yeah, it flashes up weird on Tapology, doesn't it? But yeah, no, that Sean Strickland loss is kind of the last big one on his record. That started off obviously Sean Strickland's path to being the middleweight champ. I mean, before that, he beat Buckley, which I think is a good win, but Buckley at 185, doesn't
look as good as 170.
Yeah, not such a top contender. And that was only a unanimous decision. Edmund Sabajian, I mean, he fell off the cliff pretty dramatically when he got his first loss, which at the time it wasn't the Imavov one was kind of a comeback fight for Shabazian. And then Ian Heinisch, I mean, he lost to Phil Horst in 2021. So that kind of says where this guy's. I mean, he's on to see himself ranked 11 after really, what are we talking? 3 fights in the past 3 years, pretty much. The Buckley, Strickland, and Curtis one. I think it's quite generous, to be honest. I think it's quite generous having put up there. I mean, Chris Curtis is below him in the rankings as well. So, yeah, I don't think we've seen the best of Nassourdine. And I think Dolidze is that level above. And I kind of see this as a little bit of the UFC saying to Dolidze, okay, we tried to get you matched up against Cannonier a couple of times. That didn't work out. So we need to drop you down to get you a fight. maybe just to getting that momentum building. But I think Dolidze is a massive problem in this division, and I think he's a crop of those Georgian guys along with Valashvili, Giga Chikadze.
Emporia.
He's up there. He's up there. Topuria. Although he claims to be more Spanish than he does Georgian. But
Yeah.
anyway, I do not like that guy. But that's for the next podcast. That's for the next couple of podcasts. I like this fight. I like this fight a lot for Dolidze. I mean, how do you see it playing out, kind of style wise? Do you think Dolidze is going to go in there and try and look to strike with him like he did with Vettori, or do you think he'll try and mix it up?
Yeah, I think he will try to mix it up, especially with Imanov not being I don't know, complete fighter. Like he does have some we definitely see him on the ground a few times, I believe, and Dolidze is definitely way more experienced. Although both these fighters have almost the same record with 12-4 and 12-2, and Dolidze being a much older guy of 35 versus Imanov being 28. So I think, like I spoke earlier, Imanov did have that momentum of before the UFC getting all those first round finishes, and because being a young French guy looks good for the UFC, especially when they came back to Paris. Imanov got the momentum and being ranked. How I see this fight going, I do believe Dolidze has to mix it up and has to wrestle. Imanov has to do what he did similar to versus Jack Hermanson, how he just pinned him down and just blew shots. And I think Dolidze, like every fight he goes into, he always looks for the wrestling game. I believe it was versus Dawkins or Haas, where they was fighting in the Apex. He was telling his coach, like, should I go for the Umanari role? Do you want to see a knockout? He was talking to his coaches. So he's also an entertaining guy to watch during the fight. So for Dolidze, definitely get him to the ground, overwhelm him, and get the finish by TKO or something like that. Or get a heel hook. He likes those heel hooks as well. So that's how I see Dolidze going for this fight.
A submission finish.
Either submission or TKO. I think he's definitely take it to the ground, overwhelm, prove you have the experience that they robbed you from Vettori. You should be pissed after what they did to you versus Vettori. You had a few canceled fights with Cannonier and Brunson you haven't fought since, so you have to remind everybody who you are and why you should be in the top 10, top 5 of the division.
Yeah, an interesting statistic with these guys is that both of them, in terms of their win and loss percentages, so Dolidze, when he wins, he's got 7 by KO, TKO, 3 by submission. Hasn't lost by either of those two methods, and his decisions are 2-2. Now, if you look at Imavov, he's 5 wins by KO, TKO, 4 wins by submission, 1 loss, and his decisions are 3-3. So if it does go to a decision, someone's going to break their tie, someone's going to break their draw. But also could be another notch on the other side. So all roads are pointing towards the finish, which means we're going to get a decision, right? That's genuinely how it goes with these types of fights. I mean, it might be math, it might be quite good to have a little bit of a discussion about how these guys sit in the middleweight division with the current makeup of the division. It's a really active division at the moment. You know, Israel Adesanya and Khamzat Chimaev not being active. Jared Cannonier doesn't have a fight booked, but he's talking about coming back. Vettori, I'm not sure if he has a fight booked, but Costa does. Whitaker does.
Vettori has a main event.
Vettori does have one, right?
With Brendan Allen.
With Brendan Allen, right. Yeah, you've got Joe Pyfer going up against Jack Hermanson next week, which is a huge fight. You know, Joe Pyfer is one that can come in there, all guns blazing. So with a win for either, I mean, how do you kind of see them fitting into that middleweight picture as it is right now?
So middleweight has a lot of movement right now. So you did mention Whitaker and Costa have a fight as well.
Yep, they're booked as well. Yeah.
So that's 6 versus 3. Vettori and Allen 5 versus 7. Hermanson, number 10, which is Pyfer, who's not ranked. So Pyfer could jump right into the top 10. And and Anthony Hernandez has a fight versus Roman Kapilov. So a lot of movement, and depending on who wins and who loses, I do see clashes coming. What I do see, I hope for Dolidze to win and to get a top 5 or someone right outside top 5. So Costa's ranked number 6 and Whitaker's ranked number 3, which is just around Vittori. So if you could get around Vittori and get the winner or loser, if you get the winner, Whitaker and Costa for Dolidze, that'll be pretty good. And I believe Imavov should get the winner or loser for Allen versus Vittori, which is just like a few weeks apart. Both of them will get like a 90-day suspension from the athletic commission just based off their fights. And then the UFC can match them up for on a later date since there's all of them are fighting close to each other.
Yeah, I think the question mark hanging over this division is the Adesanya one, right?
But I think Adesanya, no matter what, he's going to fight the champion.
Yeah, well, when he's going to come back is the question, isn't it?
I don't see that. I don't see him slowing down the division at all. I think we have no clear contender for the belt right now. So we do need somebody to get some wins, some fights, a win streak going, something like that. So Adesanya will just fight the champion. And once Adesanya, if he does fight the champion, if he does fight this year, then we'll have a lockup at the top with Duplessis, Strickland, and Adesanya with all of their history. But for now, the contenders have to prove why they should fight. They should be the next contender to fight for the belt.
I think it's a curious one because if you put Izzy out of the picture, the way I see it is that the winner of Costa Whitaker probably should get the next shot. Because Sean, he won the belt off Izzy, but he didn't defend it. That for me doesn't guarantee an immediate rematch. Yeah, the fight was super close. I wouldn't be pissed if they rebooked it at some point later in the year, right? But considering that Whitaker and Costa is kind of hot on the heels of DDP, Sean Strickland, and I'm a huge Robert Whitaker fan, and I really like Paulo Costa as well. I would love to see one of those two guys get a crack. Robert, obviously, again against DDP, kind of get that rematch. And I think if he beats Costa, he's earned it, because the only guy he has lost to that isn't Adesanya is DDP.
Yeah.
So I would like to see that rematch. Strickland maybe matching up against a Cannonier. I mean, again, it depends. It depends what they're going to do. And then for these guys, for Dolidze, I think it's Cannonier or Vittori. I think one of those two would be a good fight to kind of decide who's next. Right? Because obviously you've got kind of the Izzy factor in there. And it depends. It depends how active Duplessis is going to be. I mean, before he won the belt, he was pretty active. He was getting out there 2 or 3 times a year. And obviously had the injury, which kept him out of the original title fight in September. And then Sean will get back in there pretty soon. So
I don't see why not.
Yeah, it's a really interesting picture, and it's good because the division is active, and we know we're going to get something because these guys are all active right now, right? And it kind of got a little bit not stale for a while, but it struggled to get those contenders going. And I totally agree with you. I think outside of Whitaker and Costa, the next guy's gotta come. Whether that's going to be Joe Piper does something ridiculous and earns that Jared Cannonier fight, right? Because he's another one in that top 5 that's kind of gatekeeping it that isn't really booked.
He has he's the only one with no fights booked so far after everybody you mentioned. Like Strickland, Dracus, obviously they just fought Izzy. We don't know what's happening, but Whitaker has a fight. Cannonier, we just spoke about. Vittori has a fight. Costa has a fight. Allen has a fight. Dolidze is fighting. Hamzat, I don't know what's happening with this guy. Hermanson, Imavov, Craig. Craig doesn't have a fight. Curtis just fought. Hernandez and Kyle Barallo, which I think he's fighting.
Kyle Barallo's a scary dude.
Yes, I think he is the dark horse of the division with Joe Pyfer. So I just named you the top 15, and they're moving. Some moving parts is happening from now until them Vittori versus Vittori versus Allen main event.
I think if you're one of these guys, you call out Jared Cannonier. I think that's the fight you try and get. That's the obvious one. You could push it to Sean Strickland, maybe. That would be kind of, optimistic. But I think Cannonier is the fight to go. And then just don't say anything about Hamzat, basically. because you just want to keep his
I
name
know.
quiet as
Say,
possible.
Hamza's been calling out everybody, so why not call out Hamza? You know he's not gonna fight you, so
Yeah,
just
so it's
get that
almost a
hype.
wasted call out, I think, right? Maybe
Well,
you
get
get
that
that hype,
hype.
I suppose.
Get that hype of like, oh, you might fight Hamza. You called them out, and but then fight somebody who's actually ranked higher than you.
Yeah, I mean, Dolidze Hamzat would be a good fight.
Oh yeah,
Let's jump down to the co-main event. Somebody I've got a lot of time for. I mean, he came in and absolutely bombed another one of my favorite fighters, Cub Swanson. It's when he came on my radar. Is Renato Money? Has he officially taken the nickname Money Moicano against
I hope so.
against Drew Dober? I mean, looking at it on paper, it's a classic
It's
striker
a
versus grappler
great
match, right?
grappler versus grappler. Oh, grappler versus
Striker versus
striker.
grappler. Yeah.
Uh yeah, it does look like that, but we know Moicano he likes to bang and he wants money, so he wants that performance of the night bonus, right? So I feel like he's gonna keep it standing. Although which strikers he did struggle throughout his career, other than for some reason Cub Swanson. Like he lost to the most memorable loss I have is versus Fiziev, where he just ate that left, dropped down, and Fiziev just hammer fisted him, and he thought the ref stopped it too early, but I think he was out, and then got woken up when his head hit the canvas.
Yeah.
So, I definitely see it as a grappler versus striker type matchup, and it's going. The best thing we could say about this fight is going to be a fun fight. It's a fun matchup,
Yeah,
and
it'll be fun.
it doesn't do anything for the rankings for me, to be honest, because they're both ranked like 13 and 15. So we won't see much movement, but it's gonna be a fun fight in the lightweight division, and we know lightweight don't disappoint.
And Renato hasn't fought since his rear naked choke win against Brad Riddell, 2002, November 2002. We're now in
22.
January, February
If he hasn't fought
2022.
2002,
Sorry,
that'll be that'll
2022.
be all.
I've seen
Oh
too many
wow.
twos. 2022 against Brad Riddell. I mean, that's a year, what, 4 months? Now we're just going into February. That's got to play a factor, right? Drew Dober's been pretty active. He picked up his last victory in October last year. I think that's got to be a bit of a factor, right?
It's they're both like streaky fighters. They're both like, you see their names, you're like, oh, it's gonna be a good, fun fight when they're in the when they're booked. But none of them will be like, oh, it could be the next champion of the division, of the lightweight division, especially with their ages, 34 and 35. So it's gonna be a fun fight. I think if somebody could get a win streak going, maybe get close to the top five. But we know the top five is such a gatekeepers there. Like, it's so hard to get in and
Yeah.
pass through Chandler, Dustin, and Justin and everybody. So
Yeah, Fiziev. I mean, Fiziev all the way down to 8, obviously with his knee injury.
we won't
9
see
is
him for a while. Yeah.
Jalen Turner. I mean, the most winnable fight you're probably looking at for either of these two guys is probably Dan Hooker at 10. I would say.
Maybe, but I think Hooker is tougher than both these guys, and especially with his height.
He's definitely tougher, but I think if you're looking at winnable fights for these two, that's probably as close as I would go.
I would even say RDA, but McCann already lost to RDA. Gamrot, I feel it could be a closer fight for these guys, and I don't know what's happening with Dariush either, coming off 2 losses, but we definitely think high of him since he wasn't a 8-fight win streak or something like that.
Yeah. How do you see it going?
I think Dober has a chin, is a crimson chin or something like that. So I don't think he's gonna. Moicano doesn't have like punching power, so I think I see this Drew Dober win by decision. It's gonna be a little slugger here and there. Moicano's gonna try to take down, try to do submissions, but I think Dober just has some really good fast hands, and he'll catch Moicano a few times to back him down. And I think official decision. Drew Dober, unanimous decision versus Moicano.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Drew Dober as well, but I'm gonna go finish. I think he's gonna KO TKO. It reminds me, I forgot to ask you your official pick for the for the main event. Sorry, so let's just jump back.
Oh,
Dolidze Imavov.
Dolidze by submission.
Dolidze by submission. I'm going to
I
go
think by
Dolidze by
round
decision.
three. Round
Round
three.
three.
Yeah, yeah.
Calling it round. Okay. That takes us down. Next fight. Rude boy Randy Brown against Muslim Salikov in the welterweight division. Like Randy Brown's pretty well known for kind of trying to stay on the outside, trying to pick you off, kind of sniper fashion. And with a name like Muslim Salikov coming from Russia, you know what he's going to want to do, right? He's going to want to get in there and try and make it a bit more nasty. So how do you see this one?
Yeah. Well, you like Rude Brown. You like Rude Boy, right? I
I
heard
do like Rude Boy, yeah.
you're a fan of his. I'm also a fan of his. Just he's incredibly long for decision for the division. 6'3".
Yeah.
6'3", weighing at 170 on Friday. It would be quite interesting. I think Randy Brown belongs in top 15 of the division. His losses came to the very best. I feel like he lost to Vicente Luque, Jack Della Maddalena, Bilal Muhammad, and like Bilal Muhammad beats everybody, I guess, by decision. So he all of those fighters are in the top 15, top 10 of the division of welterweight. So I do think he belongs there. It just tough versus Muslim Salikov because he's Russian, so he should know how to wrestle. But you're just afraid of the threat of the takedown from those Russians and to be taken down. But Muslim Salikov loves his spinning back fist. I don't know if you could see his topology. He has a few knockouts by spinning back fist. So I think Rude Boy has to.
He's got a spinning heel kick in there as well.
Yeah, he likes to spin. Yeah,
he just likes to spin.
Exactly. I think Rude Boy just has to. If he stays on the outside and doesn't do extreme movements to get out of the way, he won't get caught from those spins, and I think he'll get it done. That's how I see this fight. I think Salikov is a solid fighter. I think he came off the Contender Series, right? So, or maybe not. He didn't come off the Contender Series, but he's somebody who I don't see in top 15, and I see Randy Brown in the top 15 who could potentially get a run and get into the top 5.
Yeah, and Salikov's dropped to Dalby last time out. Unanimous decision loss to Nicholas Dalby, and we know kind of
Dalby's on a tear.
Dalby's on a tear. He's lost to Li Jingliang as well. I don't know where that guy is. He's just disappeared, isn't he, Li Jingliang?
Yeah, is he still trying on his suit?
Yeah, and then he did, like you said, the spinning back fist to Andre Fiallo. I think this is a tough fight for Randy, but I think he's got the know-how to be able to keep it on the outside, like you say. And I think he'll be able to pick off Muslim and kind of just try and keep him away from him. So yeah, I'm going to go Randy by decision. I don't think he's got the power to finish, but I think I can see it going to decision.
If I was Randy Brown, I'll be pissed. I'm not closer to top 15.
Yeah,
because I don't think Salikov's fighting anybody. He's nowhere near the top 15 rankings, and I see some beatable matchups for him in the welterweight division. So I also see Randy Brown getting it done. I might be too generous with the finishes for this card, but I do see Randy getting a finish. I think he's gonna catch him with a head kick or some TKO punch, some punches that'll just make Salikov quit.
Make him quit. I mean, if he catches him with a spinning back fist, that'll be brilliant.
That'll be quite ironic. I feel like there should be a bet about that. A finish by spin.
Yeah. Or how many spins in a fight is he going to make? I mean, you never know with these Apex cards, right? With your finishing predictions, sometimes they do like just come out of nowhere, right? That's the thing about these Apex cards. Yeah, we don't like it behind closed doors, but they do actually bring some good highlights and some good finishes. Takes us to the women's division. Viviane Araujo against Natalia Silva. Just trying to check out the rankings here to see where these two ladies are. So Viviane is at 7 and Natalia Silva is at 9. So a good fight to get the division moving. Another one that we kind of mentioned earlier. A lot of these girls are matched up. A lot of them have something coming. Macy Barber, Jessica Andrade, Chukagian. I'm not sure. We know Furo and Blankfield, obviously. So there's a lot moving in this division. It's probably one of the more exciting, maybe the second most exciting women's division. So a pretty good fight, this one. I mean, Viviane's on. What's she doing? How is she getting on?
7-fight win streak.
7?
Vivian?
Yeah, Viviane Araujo.
Sorry, I'm talking Natalia.
Natalia's on a 7-fight win streak.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10-fight win streak.
Whoa. Holy moly, yeah.
Yeah.
Andrea
so
Lee.
something clicked in her head that she fought her last loss was Marina Rodriguez. And that was outside the UFC, and now both ladies are in the UFC, so that loss doesn't look too bad.
UFC 300, Marina Rodriguez.
Yeah.
Right.
And this is a good matchup too.
Yeah. And she's beat Jasmine. She's beat Jasmine Jaslovicius, as you mentioned before.
That win looks incredibly well now, especially how Jasmine looked recently with UFC Toronto and UFC Vancouver. How she got 2 finishes now. So that win looks really good. And that win was fairly recent, 2022. We just started the year, so a year and a half ago maybe. So she beat Andrea Lee too, who's
Angela Lee's always been consistent. She's always been pretty good in this division.
Can't sleep on her either. So I think something clicked for Silva after she lost Rodriguez outside the UFC, because then she came back. She got two armbar finishes, and then she continued fighting in that jungle fight league, and I believe it's in Brazil.
Yeah, the Brazilian.
And then she got 4-fight win streak in the UFC. So I think we should not be sleeping on Silva.
No, not at all.
No. Like I said, something clicked. She had maybe something was tough in her early career when she became pro.
She's young as well, right? To have that record that she's got. I mean, she's 16-5 and she's 26 years old.
26, yeah.
Right, 26 years old. I mean, by fight night, she will be, it's American, 02/03. So that's February 3rd. So by fight night, she'll be 27, or she will be turning 27. Yeah, she'll be a 27th birthday.
In her prime too, right? In her prime,
right coming into her prime, 27 years old to have that record.
And supposedly Araujo is out of her prime with being 37. And she's been always tricky, can't get a bigger win streak than 5. And it was, she got a 5-fight win streak, and then she just lost 1, win 2, lost 1, win 1, lost 2, win 1. Although she does have a win versus Jennifer Maia in her last fight, which is we all know Jennifer Maia, how good she is, and she took a round from Valentina Shevchenko, and we all freaked out about that. But this should be a one-sided fight in my eyes.
I mean, she's got some good wins on there. Amanda Hebas, some losses. She's only lost to the best, is what I'm saying. Amanda Hebas, Alexa Grasso, Chukagian, Jessica Ai at the time when she was going towards her title run. Yeah, she's fought pretty much the best of the best. But I agree. I think it's not Natalia Silva is going to come through. I think she's going to make a real statement. And really force her way up in that division later on this year.
Should be
really interesting.
Should be like Silva's coming out party in a way, right? Because
you'd think so. You would think so.
I mean,
if you're the UFC, that's how you try and set it up, I think.
What other woman has that big of a win streak?
Yeah, exactly.
And usually in the men's division, that gives you a title shot.
Yeah.
Right. Although she's been in UFC for 4 fights, but that's still good.
Absolutely. Your prediction? I think Jennifer Maia Natalia Silva. I'm getting my wires all crossed today. Natalia Silva by finish first round. I think she's going to come out like an absolute, like on fire. TKO, possibly to submission. First round finish.
I think it's going to be a decision win.
Okay.
But I think we'll see like a 10-8 round in there.
A 10-8. Ooh, okay. two more fights on the main card, and then we'll just finish up with a couple of picks from the prelims. Alias Kebab Dizhiriev against Mahmoud Muradov, and
Say that 10
Gilbert
times fast.
Urbina versus Charles Radke. So what's jumping out for you with these two fights? They look very much to me like a couple of prospect fights, trying to get these guys some names. Alias Kebab is undefeated, which is quite, he's Russian undefeated, 14-0. That's going to be quite the challenge for Mahmoud as well, isn't it?
Yeah. I wouldn't say much. If you consider them prospects, then they have to win now and get to the division, into the rankings, because they're all both 33 years old right now. I watched Mahmoud fight a few times, and he has some power. When he lands, he can knock people out. Like, I feel like he has some of that natural power. He just needs to know how to get it going. He also streaky guy, he has a long record outside the UFC. And then he came into the UFC with 3-fight win streak, and then for some reason he got rear naked choked by Joel Mershaw.
For some reason.
For some reason, yeah. Well, Gerald is a black belt, but he's not at the top level as everyone say or thinks he is. I think his kryptonite is wrestling. If you look at his record, but Aliaskhab, hard to say his name.
Aliaskhab, maybe.
He knows how to wrestle, right? He looks like another Dagestani guy. The Black Wolf. He's from Dagestan, so he knows how to wrestle. Probably trained with the Nurmagomedovs, and he's looking from coming off the Contender Series. He 2 fights ago to get himself going, especially 33. Dana definitely signed him to get a win streak to start going into the division and fight more often. A few fights of him has been canceled and called off, and he also last fought in March of 2022.
Yeah, a while ago. But yeah, he was on quite a finish, three finishes. So I guess it sounds like you're taking him probably by finish.
If I was a betting man, and I am, I would take him by finish, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was by submission.
Yeah, I would tend to agree. I'm leaning that way as well. So a quick one on Gilbert Urbina and Charles Radke.
Yeah. Gilbert fairly new into this game, 7-2 record. He came off the Ultimate Fighter.
Wow.
And he did not win the Ultimate Fighter. So I think they just signed him because Dana liked him. He looked good, I guess. But he has a first round loss to Treason Gore. And then he lost to Brian Battle in the UFC. So I think he needs to get something going. And then Brian Battle, he's been looking phenomenal since he got to the UFC as well. So I think Urbina just needs to get something going. Charles Radke, I do have more hope for him. He is coming on a 5-fight win streak, and it's going to be his first fight in the UFC. And usually when you fight for first time in the UFC, you would want to do an impression, especially somebody who is well known around the UFC because he fought the Ultimate Fighter. He already fought in the UFC before. So you want to make a showcase of why you belong. And Radke was supposed to do a grappling match versus Joe Pyfer.
Interesting.
But
very interesting.
For some reason, it got canceled.
So that is your opener of the main card. We'll quickly shout out a couple from the prelims. Obviously, you've got Molly McCann making her 115 debut against Diana Belbita, who she has beaten previously by unanimous decision. So it'll be really interesting to see how the meatball gets on down there. I really feel like this is a do or die fight for her, especially with making that weight cut, really changing her lifestyle. She's got to pick up a win here, get herself moving in that division. And I think she's got to do it quite convincingly, to be honest. She's coming off those two submission losses. Funnily enough, against Julia Storyenko, who's fighting on this card, but below her on the card against somebody that Molly previously beat. So that's quite odd match placing. But anyway, I feel like she's got to do it. Whether she does it again by decision, I think she's got to do something flashy if she really wants to move in this division, because it is a tough division. But yeah, get the win at all costs. What do you want to shout out on these prelims, John?
We have a fun matchup in the featherweight division. Blake Bilder versus the Korean. I'm gonna butcher his name. Jong Young Lee. Jong Young Lee. Both have only one loss in their career. Blake Bilder was a Cage Fury champion in the featherweight division as well, and should be a fun little matchup. Both of them are going to try to set up a name for themselves. I'm just trying to see. Yeah.
You got Themba Garimbo on there, the guy who went viral with The Rock because he only had, what was it, $7 or $4 left in his bank account.
Right.
He's on there against Pete Rodriguez. Azat Maktoum coming out of Kazakhstan. A much smaller version of Shavkat Rakhmonov, I hear. And then you've got Landon Quinones as well, who's got an interview on the channel. So go and check that out after you consume the podcast. So John and I will be back next week to review everything. Who knows? We might have a UFC 300 main event next week
hopefully
to dig into. Who knows
Conor
what's
versus
going to happen?
DS3.
Oh, who knows? Conor versus somebody. Jim has yacht. Love that tweet. That was hilarious. Thanks as always for your time, John. Let's pray your predictions are right and we get a load of finishes on the main card to make it a bit of fun.
Yep. Let's do it.
All right, man. We'll catch you next week. Thanks, everybody. Please remember to subscribe, comment, all the good stuff. Go check out the interviews on the channel. Thanks, everybody.
See everybody.